Rich Bisaccia, interim head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, was asked about all of these suspect calls, the big three that happened in the Raiders game. You know, he had a word to say. He gave his opinion on it. I was actually kind of surprised by it.
I'm not a Twitter guy. You can assume correct on that.
Kenny Drake last night after the injury, I know there's frustration, went off about the type of tackle that was done on him that got him hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were able to hear about it or see it, or if you had any thoughts about the type of tackle and maybe the legalities of guys pulling down and rolling.
Yeah, I did hear about it, and I'm sure, you know, I know Kenyon's, I know him a long time, and I know he's very frustrated. Certainly his last two injuries have come from that type of a rolled up tackle. When you look at the play on tape, it did not look intentional. I think he got himself in a funky body position at the end when he went to finish a little bit. The guy kind of rolled him over and he got his ankle caught underneath there. So I can't speak on the first one that happened to him when he got his last injury. It didn't look intentional. Certainly it ended up being a roll-up position at the end. I know he's a little bit frustrated about getting injured again, but it just did not look that intentional on film.
Roughing the passer call on Max Crosby, and it's kind of a bigger picture type of question. You know, you've been around football for a long time. What's a defensive player supposed to do in that situation when they're making the regular?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I also thought if you look at the end of that play, Max tried to put his hands out and didn't try to land on with all his body weight. And so I don't have an answer. We didn't like the call. We certainly didn't like the call at that situation. And, you know, there's a bunch of no-call type situations against our number 98 as well. But I didn't think it was, at that time, the way in which he landed, it wasn't head-to-head. And, again, I thought he tried to put his hands out the best he could, not to put all his body weight on him. And, you know, that's a judgment call that they make, and we had to live with it.
Abram kind of goes through a blocker.
Right.
You make what looked like a good play.
Again, the letter of the law on that one, not to cut you off, but it is you can't cut an offensive lineman. But I don't think John, in our opinion, John was trying to work his way to knife down the runner. And here comes the old lineman and end up being a collision course with those guys. But I do think, and we talked about this morning, that is a good one to send in. It can maybe make them look at the rule a little bit, maybe in a different way because of the bang-bang situation with John really trying to go for the runner, and the offensive lineman happened to be in that position at that time. So those are two interesting calls, but the one on John would certainly be hopefully one they'll look at, and maybe they'll change the rule a little bit or at least give them something to think about.
All right, man, that's Rich Bisaccia talking about, first off, Kenyon Drake in that tackle, the Crosby roughing the passer call, and then the Abram going low call. Just a quick summary of his opinions. Kenyon Drake, the low tackle, which Kenyon Drake says should be illegal. Rich Bisaccia disagrees and says he doesn't think that the defender was trying to target Drake, and that's really hard to regulate in the NFL. So he disagrees with Drake there, but respects him spreading his opinion. On Crosby, he disagreed with the roughing the passer call. He understands what the NFL is trying to do, but thought, hey, that's a messed up call. And then he even added another comment in there where he said, hey, we got a lot of no calls on number 98. So there's a lot of holding that happens on Crosby that does not get called. Really glad Rich Bisaccia spoke up and said that there. And then on the Abram low tackle, he understands the change in the rule, just wishes that they made an exception in the rule for situations like Abram where he tried to go low against the lineman to make the tackle. So it was still in an effort to make a tackle, not just going low in a lineman for the sake of it. That was awesome to check out though. Glad you guys were able to share that and look at that